Okay, so I thought I'd shoot a quick little video on this little grain mill I've bought for milling me grains. It is a budget mill, it says so in the advert. It is basic, it's basically a Chinese copy of a Corona mill. A few things I've noted already. If you can see, there's a little nylon spacer on those wing nuts. That's not included in the kit of parts, whether it is an omission or they've just changed it. A couple of other things, obviously it is a fairly crude casting. Straight away you can see there I've had it assembled and it is rubbing there, needs a little bit of filing. Problem number two is they obviously don't know how to use a split pin. As you can see, that's bent. What happens is when you assemble the front clamp, it's binding. Problem number two is in here, which has just fallen out, is a ball bearing. As you adjust the tension on the grinding faces to change the grinding from coarse to fine by adjusting this, that increases the tension on the other face of the mill. That goes in like that. And as you can see, there's a little bit of fettling. It does go in. So that clamp basically pushes down on here and increases, allows a little bit more play or less play. The tighter it is, the finer the grind. What's happening is obviously the split pin, as you can see, is binding there. So we just got to replace that split pin with one the correct shape. Now inside there should be a little ball bearing. What they've done to retain that ball bearing from falling out is they put a little clip in. Problem is they put a spring clip in. If you can see it, I'll put it up in the light. It's got that bit sticking out. Now that shaft sits in that hole with the ball bearing on top of that. With this clip in, that catches there. As you can see, there's a little scratch. Makes it very tight. In fact, it binds as it's going round. So that's got to be another little modification just to improve it. And obviously, because it is a fairly rough casting, the sections there which integrate to the handle just need a little tidying up, and this piece where it goes in there is just where it's got to be filed smooth just to make it a little bit cleaner running. But it is a cheap mill, it's only £22. This bit goes in the end, that secures your handle. Again, it's a thin washer. What I will do is take that off and put a steel washer behind this where my finger is, because when you do this up tight, that's going to deform and won't sit square on the handle. So in the next section I'll show you some simple little mods just to make this cheap and cheerful mill run a little bit smoother. Okay, so what we've done is just took her out in the workshop, just cleaned up the burrs, smoothed off the inside in here, just cleaned up the shaft, smoothed that off, should create less resistance now, and cleaned the other end up. I've got an M8 penny washer put on the back of the handle securing nut just to give it a little bit more load spread, stop it deforming the original washer. And the auger clamp, we're just going to substitute the wing nuts for nylox, and I've got some M6 penny washers to put through, and a couple to use as spacers if need be, just to allow the auger adjustment. Okay, so I'm just going to put this back together again, and I'll show you the final assembly. There you have it, she's all back together. Didn't need the spacers on the clamp as with some of the other models. There is a guard here, it has a pressing that fits around this clamp. I've just put one of the M6 penny washers in between the two mounting faces just to give me a little bit more clearance on the grinding wheels. I've still left the wing nuts on at the minute just to leave that to set the thing up first. Once I'm happy, I can swap it out for the nylocks. You've got your adjusting clamp screw and lock nut, which just adjusts the tension and the free play on your auger, which adjusts your grain. You can see I've attached the hopper now, which is quite a good size compared to some of them. It's about 5 inches in diameter. We've got the handle rigged up, nice and secure now, stays there, and as you can see, nice smooth action on the handle now, which it wouldn't do before. So all that's left now is me to go and try it. I've got some mixed corn and grain for the chickens, so I'll go and just run a batch through that, see how it performs. Okay, well this is what I'm going to try it with. It's just some mixed corn chicken feed, whole grain, and this is what it's come out like. That's just with the first setup. I haven't even messed about changing the screw. As you can see, it's cracked all the husks. There's one or two there that still hasn't caught, but that's just on the initial setting. So yeah, it works. I'll try and do it one-handed without it moving the workbench. See here. Then the hopper will, I just weighed out the grains and it came out at 1.1 kilos, and I just filled this hopper up, weighed the pot of grain, and there was 200 grams left, so it's just shy of a kilo capacity in the hopper, given that this is obviously mixed if you were just putting grain in here. So yeah, it's going to work for cracking your grains for brewing, and obviously you could adjust this even more for its intended purpose to make a light grain based. You can run it through multiple times to get a finer use out of it for flour, granary bread. So there you go, this is the Model 500 poor man's Corona mill. Slight little tweaking and modifications just to make it run a little bit smoother, but it's now a success. Okay, cheers guys. Finally, for those of you that are thinking about, oh, I want to motorise it, take your handle off, get yourself a bolt that's the same thread as the handle, cut the head off the bolt, put a nut on it, screw that in as far as it will go, then just use that nut to lock it off so you don't end up stripping the thread in your auger, and then just attach your drill and away you go. Right, let's give this a go one-handed.